Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. Thank you guys for joining us on this Tuesday night. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. The Nuggets are NBA champions for the first time in franchise history. We're going to talk some College World Series as all 8 teams have clinched their spot into Omaha, including our LSU Tigers. Let's go Tigers. But we're going to start off with some Braves talk as they come off arguably their worst loss of the season. And I remember we blew a 4-run lead in the ninth to the Marlins, and people were like, oh, that's just baseball. And I get that's like the common thing to say. Like, it doesn't make any sense why this is happening against bad teams, why we lose 2 out of 3 to the A's, why we lose to the Tigers and blow a 3-run lead in the ninth. It's easy to just say that's just baseball, but I read a stat after we blew that game to the Marlins, and we had won like 600-700 straight games. Like the last time we lost a game with a 3+ lead going into the ninth inning was like 1980 something. So it is baseball, and maybe we were just due. Maybe we were just due because like that's not a normal streak, but it doesn't happen a lot, especially to good teams with good closers. And a lot of people were talking about Raisel Iglesias last night, and understandably so. He just wasn't good. Gave up 5 hits and 3 runs. But coming into that game, he hadn't given up an earned run since May 14th against the Blue Jays. So he's been downright dominant, and it was just one of those games where you lose, and it makes you kind of sick, especially the way it happens. But I mean, you just can't get that upset about it because it's probably not going to happen the rest of the year.
Yeah, I saw Mike Bell tweet, Mike Bell of 92.9 tweet out something about how he still doesn't, he's not convinced of Raisel Iglesias, which is just crazy to say. And I know, recency bias has got a stranglehold on Mike Bell and probably a lot of Braves fans. But let me talk some sense into you. First of all, Raisel Iglesias didn't really have a spring training. So in a way, he's still kind of working through some kinks. And just like you said, Chase, he was downright dominant here for about the last month or so. And the Detroit Tigers offense is terrible. The Braves bullpen has been one of the best over the past 3 weeks. I don't know if they went, 14, 15 days without giving up a run, just downright dominant. And Raisel Iglesias is a big part of that. I get this is worrisome. The home runs, the walks, everything like that. It's all validated. But it's baseball. It's 162 games. It's okay. There's bumps in the road until Snicker starts showing a little bit of emotion and he starts getting stressed out. I think that's going to be my rule of law is look at Snicker, and after a terrible loss like we just had, if he's still just that monotoned, emotionless guy, who's just, that's baseball, I'm going to be fine. Raisel Iglesias is going to be fine. He'll be one of the best closers in baseball for the rest of the season. Nobody should be worried about that guy. And I think the same goes for a lot of the guys in the bullpen.
Well, if you're waiting on Brian Snicker to show some emotion, man, you don't hold your breath because you'll die very quickly. I mean, we were down 10.5 games last year to the Mets, and I don't think he blinked once, and look what happened. They won. Now they're up 3.5 games against the Marlins. They have one of the best records in the National League. They've really been playing really good baseball. And Raisel Iglesias has been one of the best closers in baseball since his second or third appearance of the season. Like it was just one of those games, man. And it got ugly fast. It got ugly fast. In about 30 minutes, it went from, cruise control. This is exactly what you should do to the Tigers. They don't deserve to be in the same building as the Braves to, 2-run homer. Okay, single. He's given up 3 straight hits. Okay, blown lead. Okay, we can't get the guy in from second in the 10th inning. It was just then Austin Riley has a pop-up bunt that he can't field cleanly. It was like, wow, that was incredibly ugly. I can't think of 30 minutes of uglier baseball since maybe like 2015. It was just disgusting. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but this Braves team is resilient. They're not going to feel bad about this. They're not going to get too high after 7 straight wins. It's the even keelness over 162 games that keeps this team competitive and hungry and stuff like that. So listen, I tweeted out after the game yesterday, man, I'm going to have tough time sleeping knowing the Braves are only going to win the division by 7 games instead of 8. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because like I said, I predicted before the season, they're going to win by 7+ games. They played good enough. I don't even think they've come close to hitting their peak. There are signs that it is happening. Michael Harris starting to look like that NL Rookie of the Year. He went 3 for 4 with a big home run. He's now 10 for his last 23. So that I think that's a fantastic sign about the future of this team. You still have the guys in the middle of the lineup just absolutely on cruise control. Ronald Acuna, I don't even need to say anything about him, but the guy seems to have 2, 3, 4 hits every game, and every ball he hits is over 100 miles per hour. It's just absolutely insane to watch him. Charlie Morton delivered his best performance in the last few outings. I thought that was really good to see. So you know me, I like to stick to the optimist thing. I like when you are a fan of the Braves, you're allowed to do that because things are never as bad as they seem. And that was just disgusting to watch. Disgusting to watch. But when something like that happens, I almost just chuckle a little because I'm like,
I was just gonna say, when something like that happens to a team as good as the Braves, you kind of just have to like sit back and laugh a little bit. I wanted to say something about Ronald as well. I saw a stat. This is just out of the blue left field stat that Ronald Acuna has like 80, close to 80 hits over 110 miles per hour, and the next closest guy is less than half. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Nobody's hitting it harder than Ronald Acuna Jr. We can't say enough about the guy. He's the best player in baseball right now.
I want to correct that stat because I saw the exact same stat. So it's actually the Braves have like 100 as a team, and no one has more than half. The Angels are the next with like 47. But Ronald Acuna by himself would be like the 6th ranked major league team by himself. Like he would be that. So like he has more than pretty much every major league team, and he's right behind the Angels.
I saw a stat of individual players.
Yeah, it might have been like 105. He's way ahead of everyone in first, and it's just 110. Like there's a lot of guys in the major leagues that don't have one ball that went 110, and it like half of the balls. Like I swear every time he gets out, like it's like the hardest ground ball you've ever seen to third base or shortstop or whatever. And he leads the league in hard hit balls. He leads the league in infield singles. He has nearly 30 steals. Hopefully he can get those home run power numbers up just a bit because I'd love to see him go 40, 60, 40, 70, something we've never seen. He could be the first 30, 60, whatever, but it is incredible to watch. And we've been sitting here for weeks now saying there's no signs of it slowing down. Like he's not striking out. He's hitting the ball hard every time. His batting average keeps going, like hovering around 330, 340, whatever. He is so far been the best player in baseball. And I tweeted out over the weekend that any stat, any F4 that maybe outside of Shohei Ohtani because he pitches and hits, but any stat that has like Freddie Freeman or Aaron Judge or anyone being better than Ronald Acuna for whatever reason is a stat that doesn't need to be taken seriously. It just doesn't. Like those guys have been great, but they have not been as good as Ronald Acuna. And I don't care what people say about his defense. That's a joke. That people think he's not a good defender. He's got the best arm in baseball, and he's constantly making highlight plays. Maybe his reactions aren't A1, but don't tell me he's not at least a decent defender. Like, don't tell me that. That's because I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear that.
It's crazy that we have to have that conversation because if analytics just didn't exist and we were just watching games and then giving our takes, you would say undoubtedly he's at worst, an above average defender. At worst.
I think people would be talking about him as a gold glover. Like real talk. And the gold gloves don't really mean that much today. I see guys who are not good defenders win gold gloves, but still, like we would be talking about him as one of the better right fielders because he makes all the highlight plays. And then people say he doesn't hustle or he doesn't have, I don't know what it is, but I don't want to do it.
It was that one thread from I don't know who she works for or what she does, but she's in the analytics side of baseball. And she did a big thread on Twitter about how, why Ronald Acuna is a bad defender, cherry picking plays from when he was recovering from his ACL surgery still. It was just crazy. You can watch the game, put the Excel spreadsheet down, watch the game, see what he does. He's a good player all around.
Yeah. And it's really, I think the biggest storyline, positive storyline is the Michael Harris. He's now hitting over 200, my dog. And listen, he's 7th. We're going to talk about MLB All-Star voting, which is such a joke. Fan voting is hilarious. And Braves fans are rabid. So if you're going to give us this opportunity, we're going to get most of our guys in. And you see them leading and everything. But one thing that I thought was hilarious is Michael Harris now hitting a little bit better. We're talking about a guy who's been sub 200 all season. He's been sub 200 and been not a very good player. Like we don't have to beat around the bush. He hasn't been very good until the last week or two. He was 7th among all outfielders, one outside of being in the top 6, which puts you into the final fan vote, the phase 2, and decides the starter. The top 3 outfielders from there will win. So I'm telling you, you get Michael Harris in those top 3 where all the votes are cleared. Braves fans are going to vote him in rapidly, and he's going to be in the All-Star game with it's going to be hilarious. But coming up after the break, we're going to talk about a big injury to a big piece of this team.